I let him use my power tools after his were stolen. When I asked for them back, he said, "You should have known better than to lend things out around here." I didn't demand anything. I just filed a quiet theft report, then bought something he'd never notice until the beeping started. I live in a town called Decatur, about 20 miles from Fort Wayne, Indiana. It's not a bad place. Quiet. People mostly keep to themselves, but we nod when we pass each other. I've lived in the same house going on 18 years now. I've worked the same maintenance job at the school district for just as long. I don't have a lot of hobbies, but I like working in my garage. Over the years, I've built up a nice collection of tools. Table saw, miter saw, cordless drills, sanders. Nothing top of the line, but solid stuff. Some I got as gifts from my brother, others I saved up for. I keep them clean, oiled, and always in their cases. A guy named Aaron moved in 3 houses down about 2 years ago. Early 30s, single, kind of rough around the edges. Didn't talk much. We'd wave, maybe chat about the weather or garbage pickup. That was about it. One evening in late September, he knocked on my door. I was watching TV with a beer in hand. He looked upset. Said someone had broken into his garage the night before and took all his tools. He was shaking his head, cursing whoever did it. I had my whole damn setup in there. "Everything's gone," he said. "I gotta finish this deck project for my sister this weekend, or she's gonna kill me." I hate asking, but he looked embarrassed. I should have paid attention to that. People like Aaron aren't usually embarrassed unless they're about to lie. I just need to borrow a drill, maybe a circular saw, miter saw if you got it. Just until Monday. I'll take care of him. I paused. I didn't like lending tools. But I've had stuff stolen before. Tools, a trailer hitch, even my old lawnmower. It's a sick feeling. I remembered that. So I said, "Yeah, all right. Just don't beat them up." I handed over 3 of my best tools, all labeled with my last name in black marker. I even showed him how to unlock the miter saw guard. He said thanks, promised he'd bring them back in a few days. 2 weeks went by. Nothing. I drove past his place twice and saw him sitting out front, drinking. Didn't wave, didn't say anything. So I walked over one Saturday morning. Knocked. He came to the door in socks, holding a mug. "Hey man," I said, trying to sound polite. "Just wondering when you're done with the tools." He smiled, slow and smug. Then said it. "You should have known better than to lend things out around here." That's it. No apology. No excuse. I stared at him. Not angry. Not sad. Just quiet. "All right," I said and walked away. I didn't call him out. I didn't yell. But I went straight to my computer and filed a police report for theft. I attached the photos I had, the serial numbers, a copy of the receipts, and the old text message where he asked to borrow them. I didn't expect anything. Cops don't usually follow up on things like that. But I wanted it on record. Then I got online and bought a Bosch track tag. It's a GPS tracker the size of a quarter. It syncs with your phone. You can hide it in a toolbox, even inside a drill, if you know how to open the casing without breaking anything. I spent a few days watching him. Then I waited until he wasn't home. A week later, I saw him leave in his old red Dodge. I waited another 10 minutes, then walked over. He'd left his garage open. Just a crack, but enough. I slipped in. His setup was a mess, tools scattered everywhere, beer cans on the workbench. And there, on the lower shelf, was my miter saw. Still had my faded last name written underneath the base. He hadn't even tried to scratch it off. I unscrewed the back panel and tucked the tracker into the casing, taped it in place, then sealed it back. Took maybe 2 minutes. Quiet. Clean. I didn't take anything back. I just walked home and waited. The next day, I set up the app on my phone, marked the location, then went back to work like nothing happened. At first, the tracker didn't move much, just pinged at his house. But then, one Saturday morning, I saw it heading down Route 27. I followed the signal from my phone. It stopped at a house across town, some guy's backyard. I drove past slow. There was Aaron, unloading tools onto a folding table. A couple other guys hanging around, looking like they were checking stuff out. He was selling my tools. I parked 2 blocks over and called the non-emergency police line. Gave them the report number I filed. Told them my GPS tag was pinging from that exact address. They said they'd send someone. I waited, watched from my car. A cruiser rolled up 20 minutes later. 2 officers stepped out, talked to Aaron. I saw him laughing at first, but then one officer pulled out a notepad. The other pointed at the miter saw. Aaron looked panicked, started gesturing with his hands. Then they cuffed him. That night I got a call. Officer said they recovered all 3 of my tools. Said the tracker was good thinking. Aaron was charged with theft and selling stolen property. But it didn't stop there. About a week later, I started getting weird looks around the neighborhood. At the gas station, one of the clerks I knew wouldn't meet my eyes. At church, someone asked me if I was really pressing charges over a couple old tools. Turns out Aaron's mom lived on the next block. She'd started telling people I was trying to ruin her son's life over a misunderstanding. Said he was going to lose his job, maybe even his apartment. Claimed I'd set him up, like I planned it all. I ignored it. At first. Then someone left a note on my truck windshield. It was written in Sharpie on an envelope. Said, "Snitches get what's coming." I didn't call the cops. Didn't want to give them more to talk about. I just installed cameras. One on the garage, one facing the driveway. 3 nights later, someone egged my truck. I knew it was connected, but I didn't have footage. The camera hadn't reached that far out. So I adjusted it, brought it closer, made sure it caught everything. And the next night, around 2:30 a.m., I caught Aaron himself walking past. He paused near my driveway, looked around, and then spit on my windshield. Real slow. That was all I needed. I took the footage straight to the officer I'd worked with before. He didn't say much, just nodded and said he'd add it to the file. Harassment, they called it. But that wasn't the twist. The real twist came 2 weeks later when I got a visit from a guy I'd never met. Said his name was Dale. He owned a pawn shop over in New Haven. He pulled up in a rusted-out van and knocked on my garage door like he was in a hurry. "You're the guy with the stolen tools, right?" he asked. I nodded. He looked pissed. I bought 3 more tools off that guy. Gave him cash. Thought it was legit. "I want my money back." I told him flat out I wasn't giving anything back. I'd been robbed too. He could take it up with the police. That's when he said something that stuck with me. He's done this before. To other guys. But they never got the cops involved. I just stood there. That's when it hit me. Aaron wasn't just borrowing and forgetting. He'd been doing this for years. Taking tools, selling them, banking on people not wanting to deal with cops or court. And it had worked. Until me. I started asking around quietly. Guys I knew from work, neighbors I didn't normally talk to. Turns out Dale was right. Aaron had a pattern. One guy, Ray, said he let Aaron borrow a pressure washer last year and never saw it again. Another, Marcus, said Aaron offered to fix his lawnmower and then ghosted him. Nobody pressed charges. Most didn't even report it. I gathered their names, dates, as best as I could. Put it all in an email and sent it to the detective handling Aaron's case. A week later, I got a call. The detective thanked me and said they'd reclassified the case. Now, they were looking at Aaron for multiple counts of theft and possible fraud. It wasn't just petty stuff anymore, it was organized. I thought that would be the end of it. But Aaron made bail. He moved out 2 days later. Left the house a mess, trash bags on the lawn, junk furniture by the curb. A different car showed up each hour, helping him pack what little he had. That night, he came to my door. He didn't knock. Just stood outside, yelling, "You think you're better than me? You ruined my life, man." Over tools. I didn't answer. Just watched him through the camera. He walked up and kicked my mailbox off its post. Took 3 tries. That was the last time I saw him. 3 days after he left, someone keyed my truck. Deep gouges across the driver's side door. It was no random act. They carved one word. Rat. I filed another report. The cop recognized me right away. He just sighed and said, "We'll log it, but unless someone saw it," I nodded. I wasn't expecting much. That night, I sat in the garage for hours, just thinking. about how this all started with me trying to be decent, about how people like Aaron twist that decency into something they can use. I kept checking the GPS tracker app, out of habit, just to make sure it was still working. It pinged once, middle of the night. A new location. A trailer park on the south side of Fort Wayne. I zoomed in. Lot number 11. Then it stopped updating. Next morning, I went to work. Quiet. Head down. When I got home, there was an envelope tucked under my doormat. No name, just my address written in shaky pen. Inside was a photo. It was me, in my garage, working on my bench, taken from the side alley. No note, no threat, just that one picture. That's when I started to understand. Aaron wasn't done. And he wasn't working alone. I went straight to the police with the photo. They looked concerned, but again, without a clear threat or name, there wasn't much they could do. I could tell they were getting tired of the whole thing. I wasn't. I dug deeper. Used the GPS logs from the tracker and cross-checked the addresses it had stopped at over the last few months. Not just the pawn shop. Not just the house across town. There were 3 more. One was a trailer rented to a guy named Kyle, arrested 2 years ago for burglary, out on probation. Another was a rundown garage listed under a landscaping company that hadn't paid taxes in 5 years. The third was a house tied to Aaron's cousin, someone with a sealed juvie record and a history of property disputes, according to a neighbor I managed to talk to. This wasn't just about tools anymore. Aaron was part of a loose circle, guys who passed stuff around, flipped it, covered for each other. A system built on casual theft and silence. And I had stepped into it by asking for my stuff back. I didn't feel scared. I felt sick. Like I'd been living next to something rotten and only now smelled it. I kept all the records, backed up every video, copied the GPS logs to 3 drives, sent one to my brother in Kentucky with a note. If anything happens to me, give this to the police. And then I waited. For weeks, nothing. Until one night, around 3 a.m., I woke up to a low, repeating beep from the garage. I got up, grabbed the flashlight, walked out. The GPS tracker I'd planted in my saw, it was in my garage now. On the workbench. I never brought it home. No one had broken in. No signs of forced entry. Just the beeping. Like someone wanted me to know they could come in anytime they wanted. I used to think the worst thing someone could do was steal from you. But now I know it's what they leave behind that sticks longer. The silence. The feeling that your lock doesn't matter. And this one thought I can't shake. What if he was never really gone, just waiting for me to stop checking? #.